Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Alright guys, so I said I was going to jump in tonight. If you were able to look at my stories on Instagram, and I posted in Facebook as well that I was going to go live at 7 o'clock. Hello, hello, hello everybody. Hi, I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook, guys, in the group. So, hi, how is everybody doing today? Hey, Painless Advising. Hi, how is everybody doing? How are you doing this Monday night? So I wanted to jump in the group. I can't see who's on Facebook, guys, but hello, hello. I was going to jump in. My name is Era. I am the founder of the Official Wife Tribe. I want to invite you tomorrow to our prayer circle that we do every Tuesday morning at 7:30. So I want to invite you before I get started tonight. Jump on, invite a girlfriend, invite a family member, a sister, a cousin, mom, everybody. Our prayer circles are very powerful in the Wife Tribe, and I definitely want you to experience what God is doing in the Wife Tribe. So hey everybody, hey. I'm live on Instagram and Facebook, so let's just jump right into it. So we doing marriage talk tonight, and I'm gonna be talking between two cameras, all right? Marriage talk. Hi, how are you doing? I'm well. How are you? I'm great. 7:30 Eastern, yes, 37 Eastern time in the morning. If you're able to get up, if you're not already out, left for work or doing something, definitely just jump on. You can just jump on and listen. It's 30 minutes, 7:30 to 8 in the morning. So everybody is welcome to join me in the morning. So let's talk about it, because a study just came out, guys, that I was reading about yesterday. And I said, this is so interesting because right now next year will be 7 years for me being married, 8 years together with my husband, my now husband. And they came out with a study talking about the different phases of marriage. And I have to say, like, when I was reading it, y'all, I was like, they ain't lying. They are not lying. This study is really true. And I kind of just wanted to talk about the different phases that happen in the years that you are married. They have the 3-year mark we're going to start with. Then they have the 5-year mark. They have the 7-year mark. And then they have the 11 and 15-year marks. The different things that happens in phases that happen in marriages. And then what you can do when you're going through these different phases. And as I was reading it, I could relate 1000% with the different phases that happen. So we just gonna jump right into it. And if you have any questions, just put your questions in the chat. So as we all know, that 3-year mark, guys, is that like honeymoon phase, right? So the 3-year mark is the honeymoon phase. So what usually happens in the honeymoon phase is like we're just so excited. We're still getting the butterflies in our stomach. We're kind of happy about where we are, about who we married. Hey. We're happy about who we are and what we married. We're just excited. We're excited. In that early stage, the 3-year mark. Can we agree with that? Like 3 years. We're kind of still in the bliss stage. And I wish I had like another, I didn't even get I'm so mad at myself because I did not get my camera holder. I'm sitting up here trying to hold this camera with my hand and hold this other camera with my laptop. So God, y'all forgive me, y'all. Forgive me. Because I should have had a better camera holder. So, and so the 3-year mark is, it's just a stage where you're kind of still in bliss. And I can relate with that. You're not really having any issues. You're kind of still in bliss. Everything is kind of new. Everything is kind of fresh. You're still feeling those butterflies in your stomach. You're very happy where you at. But when you get toward the end of that 3-year mark, couples realize that the love requires like intentional effort. All right. So at the end of that honeymoon phase, you start realizing, okay, for this to continue, it has to be an intentional effort, that this is not going to continue just off of chemistry, right? This is not just going to continue off of chemistry. We have to be intentional about making sure that what we're feeling and what we're experiencing stays. And a lot of times, we can just set these kind of unrealistic expectations when we're getting toward the 5-year mark, because we're expecting this phase to kind of stay. And then when it starts to dwindle, going into the 5-year mark, we're saying, well, what happened? You changed. You're not being the same. It's not like how it was in the very beginning. You used to do this, and you used to act like this, and you used to say this. And when you walk through the door, you used to, do this. You used to bring me flowers, or you used to tell me that I look pretty, or, you would set up date nights. And then, when you start getting to that 5-year mark, you see things kind of change. And so what I would say, when you get to that 5-year mark, you have to do a relationship audit. All right. Just like you audit, you know what an audit is. You audit different things in your life, taxes, things like that. We have to have relationships audit, y'all. We have to sit down and really audit our relationship and see what it is that's happening and what it is that we need to change. So we need to sit down, just like you would do in any business meeting, and we would set up our questions. I actually have questions that me and my husband use, that we go through, and we read the questions aloud, and we ask each other these questions, and we allow each other to give real answers, no matter if we feel like this might hurt the other one's feelings or not. It's really important that when you're doing these relationship audits, when you get to this stage of like right at year 5, that you are being honest, because honesty is what's going to keep you together. Because having that communication and that emotional maturity is going to create longevity, and it prevents resentment in the relationship. Okay, it's going to prevent resentment if you're just honest about what's going on, how you truly feel, and what you feel like you might be lacking at this stage of the game in a relationship. The 5-year mark, pressure, purpose, and power struggles sometimes happen at that 5-year mark. Pressure, power struggles, guys, is what happens sometimes in the 5-year mark. Why? Because like life is settling in. Like, okay, it's 5 years. You probably have some kids by now. You probably have a mortgage by now. You probably have some car notes. You have some debt. It's just like real life is happening. Life is lifing. And then the reality has set in. Careers, kids, financial stress. You start reshaping your priorities. The priorities maybe been you before, but now it's just strictly about if you have a business together, or now it's like, okay, we have kids that we need to focus on. And so couples, sometimes they start drifting away, and they stop kind of being in a relationship, and they start being more like roommates, because they're so focused on the things that they have to do. And this is tricky, guys, because this is where trouble can come in a relationship, when it start feeling like it's you start putting your obligations over the relationship. I'm really against that. Because that happens a lot, right? That we start putting our kids in our careers over our relationship. One thing that I always say, like I was saying earlier about that intentionality, about making sure that you're doing your part in a relationship. You have to make sure that you guys put your relationship first. Like, no matter how successful you are, how successful your business is, or whatever's going on, you have to make your marriage top priority. If you don't, you're going to lose your marriage, because life is going to continue to happen. Your business is going to continue to grow, and your kids are going to continue to grow up, and you cannot allow these things to pull you away from each other. A lot of times our purpose sometimes pull us away from our spouse. Pressures for finances pull us away from our spouse. Position. A lot of women are in high positions at work, and they're doing a doggone thing at work, and that's great. You're the director, you're the executive, you're the boss. But when you come home, sometimes we bring that home to our spouse, and then we are not realizing how that is affecting our marriages. We really have to learn how to separate that, so it won't be any power struggles around the house. Because I'm gonna tell you this: you cannot boss your husband around. You cannot boss your spouse around. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care if you're a doctor. I don't care if you are this. I don't care who you are. we have to go by the order of what God said. God said that the man is the head. I'm not saying that, in a relationship that you guys can work together and that you guys aren't a team, but in the order of God, that the man is the head of the home, and so you shouldn't have power struggles inside the house. And a lot of times when we get, and I'm speaking for myself personally, I'm not speaking for anybody else. Sometimes when you are making a certain amount of money, sometimes when you get into position, sometimes when you feel like you can do things on your own, you start to unconsciously have this attitude of independence. Like, I don't gotta, listen to him. I can do this. You can really live your life on your own. So you gotta really be careful about that power struggle that can happen inside the relationship around year 5. All right. And so couples sometimes drift instead of becoming closer, instead of making sure they have a partnerships. Sometimes when you get to year 5, because of all the things that's pulling you away, they can start feeling unseen. They can start feeling unsupported by the other because so many things are pulling us away. And so that's why that is so important that, couples are aligned even in purpose. It's so important for couples to be aligned even in purpose, because if you guys are aligned in purpose, nothing can pull you guys apart. But when you have this dream and this and his dream and these dreams that you guys are having create conflict inside the house, and it's kind of pulling him this way and it's pulling you that way, that's where the problem happens. So it's really important that even before you get married, that that everybody's in complete alignment and everybody is understanding what the mission is of this marriage. So a lot of times breakups happen because of that. And so in the marriage, you have to have a shared vision. You have to, like I was just saying before, you have to understand that you're working as a team. And so when you have a shared vision and you know that you're working together as a team, you won't deal with any emotional disconnection because everybody is just on the same page, okay? And so what we don't want is emotional disconnection. Why? Because that creates infidelity a lot of times. Let's just be honest. It creates infidelity. Anytime that there's a disconnection, that means that somebody is being neglected. It's just stemming from somebody's needs are not being met. Sometimes because life is lifing, and we're not able to give our spouses the attention emotionally, sometimes physically, mentally, we sometimes get these things met in other places. We got to be really careful about putting ourselves in position where we can get our needs met by other people. It is not anybody else's responsibility to meet our needs. And so if your needs are not being met, that's why that audit is so important, because you have to have the open communication, like, look, my needs are not being met. We're going to work this out. We're going to figure this out until we get our needs met, because I'm not going over here. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. That is not even an option for us to step outside of our marriage to get the things that you guys need. So you always have to have the mindset that no matter what, what we're going through, we're going to have a solution to the things that we're going through. It's a solution-based marriage. A solution-based. It's not nothing that you guys can't figure out at all. It's a solution-based marriage. So you would think, Lord, when people get to year 11, right? You would think, like, why would a person get divorced at 11 years? So I've seen couples get divorced around 20 years, 25 years. And I'm just like, why would you be with somebody all them years and then all of a sudden that's crazy to me. I've had that thought when I've seen that. And so when somebody gets to the 11-year mark, the reason why a lot of times you have couples who part ways at 11 years is because they didn't do the audit, but mainly because they have some resentment there of the spouse, right? And so they have resentment, and what happens are the patterns are deeply ingrained at that point. And so they have midlife transitions, the children are growing older, They have unmet dreams at that point. That can spark a major reevaluation, and sometimes that's why breakups happen. They have some unhealed wounds from earlier years that was not resolved because they didn't do the audit. And they didn't communicate these things. And so at this point, it has exploded. 10, 11 years, they're just done. They have resentment. And when you start having that bitterness and resentment in your heart for your spouse, and you literally start hating the person that you're with, you don't like the person that you're with. You're waking up and you're just like disgusted. You don't want to look at them. You don't want to hear their voice. Every little thing about them aggravates you. And you just are not satisfied. You're miserable inside of the marriage. And that's because, a lot of couples skip the steps. They skip the steps of resolving conflict, and they skip the steps of communication, and they skip the steps of the audit. And a lot of times it's just like, even if you guys, did have a situation that happened, and you guys talked about it, but it's still some unforgiveness there. So you have to be able to forgive your partner and let it go. So you have some things like deeply ingrained. Let's say they did something, they hurt you. They said something that hurt your feelings. They, they did something that kind of created mistrust in the relationship, maybe with finances, or they wasn't honest about certain things, and you guys talked about it, but you never really forgave them. You never really let it go. You get to this point and you can have some resentment there for your spouse, and it's just been there, and you're just like done because you just can't let those things go. And that's how people can end up breaking up at the year 11. Another reason is that a lot of times that, when couples go through the transition and they're raising kids and their kids start to get older, a lot of times couples are together because of that. And that's why it's so important that you be intentional in your marriage, and you don't let things keep you together like children. Sometimes, so when children grow up and they graduate freaking college or high school. Well, let's just say 9 times out of 10 it's like high school. So when they graduate high school, a lot of couples don't end up together. A lot of couples end up breaking up. Why do you end up breaking up? Because your kids graduated high school. Why? Because you didn't want to be there in the first place. You're there. You're just going through the motions because something happened in year 3, something happened in year 5, and something happened in year 7. And guess what? The first opportunity you got to bounce, that's exactly what you did, because you was emotionally disconnected at year 5. And so that's why. And you're just staying for the children. That happens so many times. I know I'm not just making this up. It happens a lot. Couples are just staying together because the parents are emotionally connected. They allowed their children, their careers, and all these different things to pull them apart. They wasn't intentional in their marriage. They had the disconnection. Some things were being unmet. And then they didn't have a solution-based marriage. And now they get to the point where their kids are older and they just done. They're just done. All right. Your marriage should always come first, before careers, before children. You have to be intentional. This is how you stay together. Like, it's crazy because we put so much effort towards so many things in our lives. We go and get these amazing careers. We had to dedicate ourselves, and we had to put our time into, we had to put our attention to. We do it for other things, but we don't do it for relationships, right? We won't do it for our spouse. We won't put in the work for our spouses. We won't put in the work to have a successful marriages. And we won't put that work in so our children can have successful marriages too. Because kids just don't need to see parents together. Kids need to see healthy marriages. They just don't need y'all to be in the house hating each other and looking at each other crazy and cussing each other out and fighting all the time. Y'all might as well be apart, because you are showing your children an unhealthy pattern, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Kids need to see happy, healthy marriages. That's what kids need to see. That's what you need to be showing them, and making sure that they have the opportunity to have the same thing. So resentment set in by year 11, and you just want out. You're going through a midlife transition. You probably didn't get to do the things that you wanted to do in the marriage because maybe the spouse was unsupportive of you. You guys wasn't aligned. You didn't have the conversations about, okay, this is what I want, and y'all didn't have a purpose marriage. You just were together. So you have to have purpose marriage. Like we do, we have a purpose in this marriage, and you guys are doing things together. That's what a healthy marriage is. That's what a godly marriage is. It's a purpose marriage. And so it shouldn't be any resentment because you wasn't able to do things, because when you are aligned, everybody dreams or the things that they want in life is met. His and hers. His and hers. His and hers, all right? And so that's how breakup happens, because you feel like you are unhealed. You have wounds from the earlier years, from neglect and the indifference in a relationship. And now it's like, I'm just over this at 11 years, and you ready to get out. So that's what happens a lot of times in situations like that. So that's year 11. That's year 11, right? And then lastly, I want to talk about, before I jump off, I wanted to talk about some solutions for it, right? Because a couple that don't focus on intimacy, a couple that don't focus on connection, a couple that don't focus on communication and forgiveness, a couple that don't be intentional about getting counseling and therapy that they need, a couple that don't put themselves first, is a couple that is going to be doomed. That is a couple that you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it, because if you don't do these things, if you don't put this effort behind, like you put effort in every other area of your life, like you get up and you work and you put the effort in, you give it your very best because you want that paycheck at the end of the day, or you want that title, or you want to be able to make this amount of money. That's the same effort and things that you have to do to have a strong marriage that survives in this time. And so couples break up because love disappears. Not because love disappears, but the connection, the communication, and the purpose was not continually renewed. Like I said, that audit is so important, and it's not a one-time thing. It's like every 6 months to a year. Where we at? Where we at? Are you happy? Are you going in the direction that you're supposed to, that you want to go in? Am I supporting you in this way? Am I satisfying you emotionally? If I'm satisfying you sexually, how do I look? Are you still attracted to me? You should be caring about if you are attracted to your spouse. And so these are conversations that you have to have. See, that's why I say a lot of times people want to get married, but they don't really understand, like, this is some mature stuff. This is some emotional maturity. All right. You cannot go into these situations and think you're going to have longevity if you're not willing to put in the work. And a lot of times what happens is that, we think that how we feel when we walk down that aisle, when we're in that honeymoon phase, we think that is going to last forever. That dwindles so quick. I didn't even realize how quick it dwindles until I went through it myself. I was like, dang. Because it's literally like a bliss, and then it disappears. Because what happens, life start happening, and, life, you settle in life. And it's just like, okay, well, now what? Now we have, all these things going on. Now we got to, accomplish all these things. Now, we have to have these hard conversations about money. Now we have to build a life and build a legacy. Now we have to build things together and work together. If you're not able to work together as a married couple, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be very hard, because building is a big part of marriage. And if you're not even able to come together in agreement with things, you're going to just have a hard time. So, it's something that they say all the time, communication is key, but that is very true. That's why I say you have to be mature. But the key is making sure that you're marrying the person that God placed, not marrying a person that you just think that is good for you. Let God do it, because when God do it, you are aligned, and this is a purpose thing. And it's not something that we're just doing just because we just think that's what we're supposed to be doing. So, we have to focus on just making sure that we don't hold any resentment, and making sure that we are healed and not pointing fingers and blaming. And let me just say this, because I got to say this before I jump off. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I just had this conversation today with my husband, and this is what you have to realize about marriage, y'all. The person that you see today, okay, the person that you see today, I don't know how I'm gonna say this. The person that you see today, so the person that you see today, you have to accept that person. You have to accept the person where they are. You have to accept the person. If you know that God puts you guys together, you have to accept who they are, because you can't change a person. You have to allow God to do the work in changing the person. And so another way to prevent you from getting to these places where you want to break up at the 7-year and 11-year mark is not trying to control the person and not trying to change the person, accepting the person for who they are and allowing God to do the work. See, I don't even want to go there, because I wasn't even planning on going there. But I was going to talk about it a little bit tomorrow in the prayer circle, because like a lot of women want godly husbands, but a lot of women don't have the capacity to handle a godly husband. See, you have to be, this is capacity right here. Do you hear what I'm saying? Like, it's like, a lot of people want something, but they can't handle it. They're not mature enough. They're not mentally, they're not emotionally mature enough. It's not even just about finances, because this is a real thing. You don't even have the capacity to be a wife, for real. Like, I'm talking about a real one. I'm talking about a real godly wife. Like, it's serious business over here. It's serious business over here. And if you don't have the capacity to do it, then you're going to fail. You're going to fail. And a lot of times, a lot of women want things that they don't have the capacity to do. So I just say, let God do the work, on you, and work on yourself, healing yourself, and just really just going to God and asking God, okay, God, what do you want for me? Get me prepared, get me ready for what you would have me to be for a godly man, because you have to have a certain capacity, y'all, when you are, in marriage. And it's a level of dying daily. It's a level of it's a level of sacrifice that a lot of people is not ready for. A lot of people are not ready to sacrifice. A lot of people are not ready to die. A lot of people are not ready to be told no. A lot of people are not ready to be selfless. A lot of people are not ready to put others before them. A lot of people are not ready to forgive and let things go. A lot of people are not ready to have the hard conversations and not be offended. So it requires just require level of capacity. It requires emotional maturity, guys. It requires spiritual maturity as well in order for you to get to this 20, 25, 30, 40, 50, 70-year mark. And it takes patience too. It takes patience, because you accept the person and you allow God to grow the person at his time. It's not, I want him like this at this time. He needs to make this amount of money by this time. What if God don't do that? What if he never gets to the amount of money that you want? Or what if he never, be this person in your mind that you want him to be? What are you going to do? What are you going to do with that? So it's a lot involved, and you just have to be ready mentally for a godly man and a godly marriage. So what happens when the honeymoon phase is over, man? What happens when you're at the 5-year mark and then the power struggles start happening, the pressure happens? And what happens when it's, this 11-year mark, when you're like resenting things that happened some years ago? What happened? Are you going to be strong enough to be able to withstand? Are you going to be a prayer warrior in your life, in your home, to make sure that the devil don't have a foothold in your household and he will never have a foothold in your marriage? Are you willing to sacrifice that? Are you willing to let the people go that's bad examples, or are you willing to let the people go in your life who's not going in the direction that you and your spouse is going in? I don't care how long you've been knowing people. Like, come on now. Like, a lot of people are not ready for it. A lot of people are not ready to go sit down and do the self-work in order to make sure that this marriage works. And so, there we go. I know I said a lot. But I just wanted to share that because I felt like it's so important. And I see it all the time. And there's so much stuff. You see stuff on the internet all the time. You see stuff, they talking about relationships, but they don't talk about the spiritual side of what needs to take place for you to have a successful marriage. And they don't really teach people the things that they can do in order to really have sustainability in a marriage for years to come. What I can say is put your marriage first, put your marriage first, put your marriage first. Your marriage is your first ministry before anything else. Put your marriage before your children, put your marriage before your parents, put your marriage before your businesses, put your marriage before your finances and the things that you're trying to build in your life. When you make your marriage priority, it will be the most successful, and I don't know the word that I'm trying to use, but it will be very fruitful, and you will be so blessed, because what you put in it is what you're going to get out of it. Be intentional, guys, about your relationship, because guess what? Everything else is going to dwindle away, but you have to have sustainability in your marriage. It's not even just about y'all. It's about them children. It's about the grandchildren. It's about legacy. This is deeper than just we're together and, we're just here. No, you are being an example. You are creating legacy for your children and your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. They're going to be able to see the picture of you guys on the wall. And what you guys did is going to help the people that you never see. The people that you never see, but the people that you help create, which is your legacy, which is your family. So stay strong. Do that marriage audit. Stay emotionally connected. And definitely keep God at the center. And we can all get, guys, to 25, 30 years. It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely going to be worth it. Hey, Erica. Hey. I'm seeing everybody here. Hey. I'm on Instagram too. Hey, everybody. So I hope that was helpful for you guys tonight. I was just talking about to share my thoughts on the study, but we can do all